Okay, welcome back to another episode of the Day After podcast.
What's up, guys? It's good to see you, Card again. That was
So bad. That was so bad.
it wasn't organic either. Sorry, I just had to.
Okay, well, we lost half of our viewers now. Let's try to keep the rest of the half here.
All right, let's try Card again. No.
Okay, well, we have just seen the last episode of Survivor, episode 11. And it was despite I think this twist, I still not a fan that this twist was here. I'm glad that we got this outcome.
Honestly, I'm all for that twist, the do or die. I thought it was like, all right, how it was like presented, because I'm not just like in my head, I'm also comparing it to the twist we had earlier with the
hourglass twist.
Yeah, the hourglass twist. Like this one is, much better by comparison. However, he was pretty upfront. It was like, hey, you can sit out of this, but if you're the first one, you have a chance that you might be going home. However, I will say my first question would be, what are the odds of me going home? And if Jeff was like, you gotta find out, I'm like, maybe I would have been a little bit more reluctant, but it is something where it is technically your choice to participate with this twist being theirs.
I'm less mad about this twist than an hourglass twist by a wide margin. I will say that. I'm still not a huge fan of it overall. I will say I thought I knew more about this twist going into the episode. I thought that it was, at least the rumors were that it was going to be the 50-50 coin, that they were going to bring that in for this twist, and that would be what would keep you alive, as a 50-50 chance. Instead, Jeff pulls out 3 boxes, and I was like, what?
Like when he was doing his Deadpool thing and like talking to us about it, it was like, what would you do in this situation? I did write down like my answer, and it would be like, I would play.
Really?
However,
I wouldn't.
However, the whole 50-50 thing is a bit more of a, like the odds definitely, it would impact someone's decision to do it. I feel like I would still play, mostly because like I just have to outlast one person. That one can be tricky.
I don't want to say real fast. The only reason why I really don't like this is the fact that Survivor is a game of social politics and social dynamics. So sending someone home for none of that, for having no play in terms of a social dynamic decision, that is something that I think imagine if Shan went home from this, for instance, if she was still here, like that would just be like everyone would be hating this twist so much more than it is. But because we got the good scenario, like I think there were a lot more bad scenarios that could have happened in this, but we got a good scenario, so it's hard to like judge it a little bit.
To be fair, I like the proposal of the twist before I even knew who the players were sitting in, sitting out were. I thought it was very interesting. I don't know, like, will we see it come back? Maybe. It's like a twist I'm not against at all. And could it potentially get rid of my fan favorite or me?
I'm pretty positive that it's going to be in 42. I feel like this is the kind of twist that they want to do it again, because they thought that this was great. And so coming right off of the season, they're going to think that, hey, let's do it again. And I think next season we'll probably get a bad scenario of it, where a fan favorite or someone who had a good standing in the game goes home because of this. And then if that happens once, they can't do it again, because I think everyone's going to then sit out of the challenge, except for like maybe 1 or 2 people who are like dying for immunity.
All right, well, I think the thing is, I feel like this one, it is kind of very well balanced. I'd say the only drawback is the draw, and yes, it kind of goes against the whole thing of like being eliminated through like, your social game. There are like different aspects of the game beyond social. as like, strategy, idol finding, and winning immunity. However, I thought it was like an interesting change of pace, and like there is a thing of like, oh, it's not like, oh yeah, I survived this, now I'm just going to get voted out anyway. It is also another shot at immunity.
Yeah, that's something that was interesting. I thought that Deshaun would immediately be up for votes again. But yeah, no, apparently you just get immunity for surviving it. So there was a small incentive to losing that. Is like, hey, you got a 33% chance of getting immunity.
I wouldn't say it's an incentive. I would say it kind of cushions the blow of like being in this scenario.
Yeah.
However, I mean, I have to give credit to Deshaun. The man, at least when it comes to the challenge, there, his scuffles with, Shan aside, he really does, take the game for what it is. And he's like very, like, all right, this is how it is. I'm just going to roll with it, which I think is a good trait for him going forward, especially since he's in a very twisty season.
Yeah, I was a little surprised, honestly, Deshaun doing it. I know I was someone who was calling him out in the pre-merge for constantly messing up in challenges, yet his team was just so good that it didn't matter that he was messing some sandbags and all this kind of stuff. And then, he ends up being the first one out here. I was like, that kind of like, it makes a lot of sense. Like I thought it was either, once I saw the draw, it was either him or Erica that were going to be the first.
It would have been interesting if it was Erica, in the sense of like her, drawing rocks or whatever.
Yeah.
So, all right, from the standpoint of like why someone would compete, and to start off this episode, Deshaun, Liana, and Danny, they felt like they were on the bottom because, like, say what you want about Shan, yes, she was like, she was a bit of a wild card a little bit, and they didn't get along and stuff, and that kind of like led to her elimination. However, once Shan was gone, they lost the numbers, because now it's like, oh, the people that are in bottom, and Ricard was kind of like in that middle, and then he was like, oh, I'm just going to jump on with these, and like, oh, now it's the majority, final four. Because like after that moment, Liana already felt bad because she wasn't in the loop. And then Deshaun and Danny were like, they realized they lost a number, and the other side has an extra vote, which all totals up to them being on the bottom now. So I don't blame them. I don't blame them at all, even if they thought they were inept at challenges for doing this challenge, because like,
in a weird way, it does save Deshaun. Like, him being able to survive the do or die, like, he probably goes home here in a lot of scenarios, because it definitely seemed like he was the target, and Liana was the third option out of three. And because Danny won immunity and Deshaun won the do or die, Liana kind of goes home, where I don't think she would have gone home if one of them didn't have that outcome.
Yeah, I agree. Well, I mean, we're in an interesting scenario. You kind of said it last episode, but it's even more apparent now, obviously, because we have one less person. But like, the amount of like potential winners, we have like 4 very strong winners, and the only reason I give Erica, like, don't include Erica on that list, because I think she's number 5, is because everyone else's resume is pretty solid.
I will say, even though Xander's resume is impressive, it does seem like a lot of people feel burnt by him and his game. And it seems like there's also, at least with Shan going to Ponderosa, which, by the way, her Ponderosa was one of the best Ponderosas I've seen. It was really great.
It was nice.
But it seems like there's a sentiment that they want maybe a not white guy to win the season, someone of diversity to potentially win the season. And I don't know if that will manifest itself at Final Tribal, but it does seem like there's a bit of, if he's there with almost anyone else here, I think he's already lost a lot of votes.
I think that's another thing that we do have to like discuss, because race is something that has influenced the game a little bit, and Liana even put into perception in like that part in Tribal Council where yes, and like even going into the season, CBS was like, from now on, this show and Big Brother, 50% of the cast at least will be POC.
Yeah.
And from a marketing standpoint, yes, it would be very ideal if POC won this season, especially after everything.
Yeah.
I mean, I would say that, but I think it's also the thing of like, and I'm being careful with what I'm saying because I don't want it to be misinterpreted. I think it's a thing of like, yes, there are some things that are bigger than the game. However, I feel like it would be a tainted victory in the sense of like, okay, let's say the final three, if there is a final three, because there are suspicions of a final two. Let's say the final three is Heather, Erica, and Xander. Or it can even be Ricard. Granted, he represents LGBT community, but like, if we're looking at from that regard.
Yeah.
You see, both Xander and Ricard have played phenomenal games, and like this is just like based on how alliances are now, and like that spot being interchangeable. Now, it's not going to be as a fulfilling of a victory, and if like Erica was chosen purely because they wanted a person of color to win the season. Now, in the sense of like,
I agree.
And I'm like, I'm all for it. In fact, my number one choice was, a woman of color.
Guy of color. Yeah, like we want to see something different.
Not only that, like the fact that we haven't had like a woman winner in like since 2017,
very long time.
I was like really, really, like, oh, this is going to be the season. This is going to be the season from this dry spell. I mean, it's just like, if I'm looking purely at the gameplay, because Erica can win in maybe a final two, or if she really, really knocks it out of the park right now. But like for me as a viewer, and I feel like I want Erica, as who Erica is, to win on her own merit.
Yeah.
Because like Erica was awesome and spectacular, as opposed to like, well, we don't want a white guy to win. Now, like
I completely agree with all of this, because I do agree. I think that you shouldn't win or lose the game based on how you were born, who you're born to, like that. Like all of that is very like out of your control. And the fun part about Survivor is that it should be about you, not where you came from. Like that can influence your decisions, but the ultimate win with the people who you're there with should be game dependent, not just solely based on that just because.
And I mean, obviously there are going to be like circumstances where people are going to garner votes because of like their outside life, like because that is a strategy to win the game, is like, I need this money, or like that's why people, I mean, look at Jeremy and Second Chance. He had the fact that he was having another baby on the way, having like, was that their fourth child? Four children, and granted, both of them, both Jeremy and Val are both first responders, stuff like that. Like, yes, they have like some like decent income, but another baby amongst all of that is straining on a family. And so like it is something where, that can make you a target. and it's a thing where, and if I think I'm losing my point a little bit, and I'm kind of like trying to get back to it,
Okay.
but it's more so of like, and yes, Liana brought this up during Tribal, where it's like the game does reflect real life in a lot of ways. I mean, and Jeff even stepped in and said, like, yeah, it does. One of my favorite things about the part is that, it is, a reflection on society and stuff. Because if we look at like original Survivor, the voting out and stuff seemed a little bit as an afterthought as opposed to like the core thing of the game for quite a few seasons. Granted, Richard Hatch kind of like kickstarted as like, no, we're going to play with strategy.
Yeah.
But it is something where I do see where it's coming from. And, even Deshaun got emotional about something that is bigger than the game.
Yeah.
And it's hard for, obviously we're both white men.
Yeah.
It's hard to like really like truly understand, where they are coming from.
Yeah.
But, it's something where at the end of the day, I would rather Erica win if she does make it to the end.
Yeah.
Because she, crushed it, or she got rid of, Ricard, Deshaun, Danny, and Xander, and like, or blindsided one of them so epically that the other couldn't recover, or something like that.
Yeah, we want some gameplay elements that to be shown, because so far Erica has kind of been shown that sometimes things just worked out for her in a way, like the hourglass twist just kind of fell into her lap,
and then making it to that point without ever being going to Tribal. And it's like, I want Erica to win. I want her to win on her merit, because, and I feel like she kind of would want that too. Granted, it's different because $1 million, stuff like that. But like, if it does happen that way, it could be the possibility that she's a controversial winner as a result. And like, that can be.
I have had the notion that I think the winner of the season is going to feel a little under-edited, because they've tried to give a lot of editing time to people who are going out somewhat soon, whereas that's not been the normal. Like, it's normally been like, here are like your 5 main characters, and they're going to make it very deep in the game, and that's kind of who we focus on for most of it.
I do kind of, because if we look at everyone who's left, and it, for me, the 4 front runners are the like guys that are remaining. There are some episodes where they don't get as heavy as an edit as others, and I feel like the same goes for Heather and Erica as well, where it is kind of like dependent. In fact, kind of like what you were saying, I did have like a hint of like, is Danny going home this episode? Because
he got the personal content that we've been wanting the entire time.
And I mean, like, it was heavy too, because especially when it's on a anniversary of a passing a loved one, especially if it's, like 25, something like that, in a very stressful game, and everything he's gone through on the island prior to that, like, and when it comes to like stress or like a lot of different stuff in life, you can, at the very least, distract yourself. You can't stop all the thoughts, but you can kind of distract yourself with either TV, a book, or like going on a drive, something like that. On an island,
you just have your thoughts.
Yeah, you just have your thoughts. And especially if talking to people won't make it better, it's just your thoughts.
Exactly.
But, he made it through, and like, it's if anything, it definitely made Danny more of a like rootable guy, which I didn't think it was possible. And I'm happy he won. Like, I had an audible yay or yes when he won, because like I was excited for him to win. So it's interesting to see how, like, because we have one more episode before the finale. And so if that little like edit thing they've been doing a lot this season, which I think is great, comes back for the next episode and for whom it would be for. Yeah, it's going to be interesting.
I definitely have worries for two people. I think it's either one of two people going home next week. And I don't want either of them to go home, so it's going to be very unfortunate next week. I think whatever situation happens next week, I'm going to be sad. Because it's either I think going to be Danny or Ricard. I think those are the only options that make sense right now for everyone else in the game.
Yeah, especially for I would even throw, Deshaun in that ring because like it depends on how well, they can be like, hey, Deshaun is Danny's like number one. If we get rid of him, that's one less person to like that Danny can influence. However, on the next episode of Survivor, apparently there is like, another advantage out there, which is good because like no merge idol or anything. So it's like, ooh, is there something out there? And could that be something that helps their alliance scrape by for this end game? We'll see.
I think if Danny can survive next week, I think there's still a chance he goes home at 5, but I think it's smaller. And then if he survives 5, I think he wins the game. I think if he's sitting at final 4, he's going to win.
If he continues like to sweep, like if he builds up the momentum from what he accomplished this week.
Yeah.
And then I just feel
I think that's very much telling us that he's in a lot of danger next week and most likely will go home next week. Like if I had to put like an odds, I think it's like 70% chance Danny goes home, 30% Ricard goes home. Like that's probably about maybe 65-35, so somewhere around there I would probably say is the odds. So I'm just hoping Danny can be a gambling man and make it through another week.
Yeah, obviously I want the same thing. I feel like I don't know. Sometimes they're deceptive with their next time on Survivors this go around.
That's why I'm hoping, because Ricard's the one who says Danny needs to go home. And I think Ricard's the other person who's most likely to get flipped on and targeted. So I'm hoping that's something that's trying to deceive us. But it is definitely. I mean, regardless of if Danny goes home next week or not, it is so impressive that he has made it to final 6 without getting a single vote against him as a pro athlete. And he's had a great social game. He has really got himself into, the right people, right times. And now it's like when I picked Danny as my winner pick, I picked him because I knew in a shorter game, it was typically athletes start getting targeted around day 20 to 25. Like that's usually where athletes will get targeted. In a 26-day game, that means that they're probably not going to get targeted until the end game. So they just need to win a couple immunities or play an idol, and they're in fire, and they have a good chance of winning. So
I mean,
Danny's made it to where I thought he could make it to. Now he's just got to get over like 2 more tribals, and I think he can win the game.
It is very much possible. The thing is, I feel like people are talking about threats, and I feel like everyone is a big threat for a different reason. If we're talking about the main 4 being, Deshaun, Danny, Xander, and Ricard, I would say if I were to replace them, I would say that if we're talking about straight up threats, I think it is a toss up between Danny and Ricard at the number 1/2 spot. Xander is number 3 and Deshaun is number 4. And I feel like the only reason for Deshaun is mostly because of, how everything went down with Shan and how he's kind of being painted out to be in that regard.
Interesting. So I actually, even though I'm going back to this point again, I would still say I think Erica has a better shot of winning than Xander in this game. Even though we had just talked about how Xander, he has played the better, impressive, flashier game. I'm looking at this jury, and I know Tiffany felt burned because Xander didn't play the idol for him. Like, that's something that she was she talked a lot about that. And I think at Ponderosa, she was upset. And some of her exit interviews, she was very upset that he didn't play his idol for her. Same with Evie. They both feel burned by him because he told them that he'd play the idol for them if they were in danger, and he didn't. So those are two close allies who are now kind of against him. And then if you have Shan and Liana who are not going to vote for him because I think that
they just didn't like him.
Yeah, they didn't like him. I think they're communal ties from their background and everything. I think that's still going to influence at least their votes at the very least.
Yeah.
So we're already looking at 4 votes. I don't think Xander can get. And if we have a final 3, if we have 8 juries, so there's a very slight chance that he gets like a 4-3-1 win if he gets all the other jury votes.
I mean, I think it's also, there's one more thing. It's like, who is he sitting against, as well as what happens on his part and how he plays in the end game. And then also, and this can make or break, someone's victory. Final tribal council. Yeah. What does he say? Is he able to kind of like mend stuff with, Tiffany and Evie, where he's like, look, yes, I wanted to, but at the same time, I couldn't afford to compromise my game just to save you. And like Xander, he's like a good guy. He very charismatic. And I feel like it's not just like charm. It's just like a very genuine like thing that he gives off that makes him like likable. Yeah. And so like that could benefit him, and at the very least bring back Tiffany and Evie if that so is the case.
I can see potentially that, but at least as it stands right now, I think I could see him getting to the end with Eric and Heather. They not really respecting Heather's game too much, and a lot of burn happening to Xander, and maybe he only gets 1 or 2 votes at the end, and Erica gets a lot, almost just because it was a bit more of an anti-Xander coalition, which it does happen. We usually put those winners near the bottom of a winner ranking because we just we'd rather they earned the win. But that is a way. Like if Erica gets her way to the end with Heather and Xander, and she's still in control, like that's still a smart move to get to the end with them.
Yeah, I feel like I said, we have 4 strong peeps. It's something where,
and I also want to say real quick, Erica, I think her only way of winning is in this scenario of her, Heather, and Xander. I think any other person that sits there at the end beats her. So it is specifically she needs this exact scenario to come out.
I agree. Or a final 2.
Yeah, or a final 2, yeah.
It's still like, all right, there's like 25 days left, and that means a total of 4 potential eliminations. And we have seen where and this episode was an example of like, they do like the immunity challenge really, really early on.
Yeah.
And then everything, I wouldn't say is filler, but they're able to use a lot more footage from like strategy and tribal council to kind of like, I don't want to say fill the time, but like to make up the rest of the runtime and their story.
Yeah, my guess is, so we just had day 21. My guess is day 22, we're going to get our last reward challenge of the season. And then we're going to basically then have a tribal council every day thereafter. So 23, we'll have final 6. 24, we'll have final 5. And 25, we'll have final 4.
All right. Yeah. Like I said, I think it's a very, very small % chance that it actually happens. I'd say 25 or less, but it could be like, and the only thing that's like really having me I wouldn't say latch onto this idea, but not discrediting it just yet, is the fact that it's a very twisty season.
Yeah, exactly. Who knows? They might say, you know what? We're doing 39 days, actually. Like, Erica, if you smash this hourglass, we'll go back to old Survivor and do 39 days.
Yeah. Or like, pick a color or guess a number between 1 and 13. And she's like, all right, you know what? 13. It's like, all right, that's how many more days of Survivor. But all right, all of those jokes aside, it's going to be very telling how everything is going to play out here, because I feel it's really a toss up between, even if I take Xander out of the equation, you still have Deshaun, Ricard, and Danny. That makes up 3 people. All 3 of them would have to go out in a row to get that thing. And 2 out of those 3 are competition beasts. Now, Xander is also a competition beast, and yeah, maybe he can win that. And just like Hulk out as well. But, so many variables play into that.
Yeah, there's definitely a lot. I definitely think we are going to lose either Danny or Ricard this next episode. I think one of them will definitely go home right before the finale. And then it really is. I think that final 5 immunity is going to be the most important immunity of the season. I think that is going to decide who ends up winning the game.
Yeah, and then I'm also curious too, because this is another thing that kind of like influences the game, and how you can have like 2 powerhouses in the finale, the Firemaking challenge.
Yeah.
Because let's say that it's down to 4, and let's say that unfortunately Ricard and Danny don't make it. Then you have Deshaun, you have Erica, you have Xander, and you have Heather. Now, when it comes to like the final thing, let's say that Deshaun, or better yet, or let's say Deshaun pulls it out and he wins immunity. And then he's like, all right, who are the 2 people that can, possibly beat me, which would be Erica and Xander at this point. And if they both go in and Xander wins, then you have 2 strong people at the end. Now, I think that really hurts Xander's game if he's in the end with either Deshaun or Danny, because like he has 3 votes going his way. And so all he needs is 1 more to tie it, another to like win it. And if it's like Deshaun or Danny, I don't know. I'd maybe 3 votes, because the whole thing with Shan is like the one wild card, because
I could see. I think he mended fences at Tribal. Actually, I think his explanation for the Shan vote out and him being emotional in that moment, like Shan has this very empathetic side to her. Like that's how she's kind of played the game pretty much. And I think that resonated with her. I really do think that was a genius move, even though it was very emotional and raw and everything. Like it was still very strategic and smart to be able to mend that fence with the jury member who probably wasn't going to vote for you after that.
Early on too.
Exactly. So I think Xander, I like his only win also would be if he gets to then with Eric and Heather and is able to have a great tribal council to get the few votes that he needs to get it.
Why do I feel like Heather's just a lock no matter what?
Oh yeah, she's going to the final 3. There's that. I can't.
To that final 3.
Everyone wants
the only thing that kind of mixes it up, which I think is one of the great things about Modern Survivor, is the Firemaking challenge, because whether or not one person wants to duke it out that way, it is something where it gives you a more balanced finale in the regards of like, even if it does seem like one side is very much more favored than the other, it gives a chance of like, if there's like a strong one, it gives an opportunity for another to be like, oh, but they can also, because like, I mean, hell, it's part of the reason why Chris Underwood won, his season. Other than that, like being like giving up immunity and then doing the flex of winning, and then at the end, you had him, and then you had, I'm forgetting his name right now, but the redhead guy.
Tommy Sheehan.
No. In Edge.
Edge. Oh,
Gavin.
Oh yeah, Gavin. Yeah.
Who played a nice sleeper game throughout it. And like, it was kind of between those two. And I feel like the only thing that like really hurt Gavin's game was because he had a more silent game, where Chris, won that challenge. And then it made it a bit more, that finale, that final three, a bit more interesting. Kind of the same thing with, I'm trying to think, it was able to give us, Wendell in the final three, and then had our first like tied jury. And I'm trying to think of all the scenarios where it happened. 36, 37. Who did the Firemaking in 37?
It was Kara and Mike White's.
Mike White. Yeah, so that way you both had Mike White and Nick at the end.
Yeah.
I mean, then again, that was also a pretty good final three. And even say what you want about Triple H, also a very solid final three. And then, I feel like it just helps add to the resume, and it helps get at least two very strong contenders for the end.
Yeah. I think that this is the season that has the strongest final six in terms of people who could win. I think that there are paths to win for 5 out of the 6 people here. I think that there is a path, which is very rare. I feel like in the last few seasons, there is a path from like maybe a couple people to an actual win. Whereas this season, you can definitely tell they have changed the editing style. They have changed how they're trying to show Survivor to us. And I'm for it. Like if you're a fan of Survivor, you start knowing the little things that they were doing to tell who the winners were, and now they're clearly trying to change it,
which I think is another benefit of this season. Now, I mean, when we do our like full like season review and stuff, and we'll get there, but it is interesting to see because it does make the season a bit more unpredictable in that regard. Because I'd say the 5 contenders that are like really, really serious that can into it, it could go either way, and it's like exciting to watch, because even if I would say a bit different with like movies and stuff, because more often than not, if you're going to a movie, like they're going to save the day, la la la. But in one of the great things about reality TV and like reality game shows such as this is that nothing is really guaranteed, and like sometimes it does take the enjoyment out of it if you have like an obvious winner. But like you get the surprise of like, do they make it to the end?
Yeah, exactly. I mean, like when Island of the Idols happened, I said Tommy Sheehan wins after episode 1 because it just was, they were very much like, everyone loves him. He's a 4th grade teacher. He's talked to everyone. I'm pretty sure he had a winner quote in his first episode too. Like they showed us everything that you needed to show for a winner in episode 1. And it's just like, okay, well, unless he gets randomly screwed out of this game, he's winning the game.
Well, I mean, it could have happened. There were times where he was in danger.
I think only twice, right? There were 2 times he was in danger that season. One was
2 times is still plural for time.
Yeah, true.
And like maybe 3 if you count the Firemaking thing.
Yeah,
because he was technically vulnerable, but like
but
Nora winning that was like a big help.
I think anyone else would have put him up there probably. So because Nora was very easily swayed. Yes, Nora was Nora. She took Tommy.
Which I mean, in that scenario, could Nora have won? No. I mean, with that specific final 4, everyone else had a better story.
Oh yeah. I think Dean was higher than her. I actually kind of think Dean might have been the runner-up in any scenario in this way. I feel like he probably would have been the runner-up.
Yeah, Lauren, because Lauren, such a phenomenal player as well.
Yeah. If it was Lauren, Dean, and Nora, I think Lauren wins. So
hands down, in my opinion.
Yeah.
Yeah.
What could have been? We would have had a woman of color win 39.
We just need to watch her and show us the what if of that.
Yeah, exactly.
All right. So, okay. Best player of this episode. I'm going to have to give it to, I was going to say Danny, because it is a very, great episode for him. But honestly, I have to give it to Ricard in the sense of and I know this is the third straight week we're giving it, or I'm giving it to him. But if you look at the sense of Liana, getting rid of Liana, other than, giving that 3 and them losing a number, getting rid of Liana was not a big move. It was just the only option out of that alliance of 3 at that time. Yeah. And to secure their numbers. A more bolder move would have been for Xander to save his extra vote. And I understand why he played it this time around.
Yeah. He basically he actually negated Erica's swing vote capabilities by doing that.
Exactly. But the fact where it, he was able to be oh, you guys are on the bottom. I just lost, my closest ally. Yeah, we're the majority now. And influencing that way and turn the game on its head. After losing his closest ally too, nonetheless. Granted, he's the little devil that kind of did it too. But it's if you look at it from that standpoint, it really benefited his game. And being able to kind of be not have the heat totally on him, but able to make everyone feel this was the plan, getting rid of Liana if they have to go to tribal to be the plan. So yeah.
I think he's my second option for I think he's a very good one. I am giving it to Danny. Just because I think going into this episode, everyone was hell-bent that he can't win because he's not getting any personal content. He's not getting to show himself, have this, connection to his real world. There's other people who have had that and all that stuff. And this episode now we got that, meaning that I think he's now got what he needed to be a winner. That's what a lot of people were saying, was that he can't win because he didn't get this. He now has it, so he has that chance. Plus winning immunity, and basically making sure that at least him and Deshaun now got to make it to the final 6. Which is I think very important. But yeah, it's he's definitely still going to be in danger for next week. But for this week specifically, I'm going to give Danny the MVP.
That's good, because I feel like it was either or. As for the person, it's a cop-out to give it to Heather, but honestly, I'm just gonna have to give it to Heather.
Yeah, there's no one else that really there's really no LVP this episode, at least in my opinion. No one played so bad that it ruined their game or is now put them in a really difficult position. I think everyone did either okay or decent. That's left pretty much.
Which makes it very interesting going forward. How this is all going to play out.
Exactly. I also want to talk one more thing that we didn't talk about, and that's that Xander's the one who brings up the Monty Hall problem.
Which, because statistically speaking, you're supposed to switch if you're offered.
Technically, if you switch, you increase your odds to 2 out of 3. That is the theory that is behind it. I don't know the math as well behind it, but if you guys want to hear the math, go to Rob Has a Podcast, and Christian Hubicki in the know-it-alls for this week came in and he had a whole whiteboard and he explained mathematically how it equals 2/3 for switching.
Oh. I don't think you were looking at how many minutes he was talking about it.
Yeah.
But roughly, how long do you think he was explaining that? Because I know he.
Yeah. It was at least like it was somewhere between 20 to 30 minutes at least.
What? Really?
For yeah.
There's probably like 5-minute YouTube videos out there for that.
Yeah. He gave a very in-depth analysis. There was a little bit of back and forth too with Steven, because Steven wasn't he was like, but technically if you reveal one of them is not the one you want, then really you have a 50-50 chance, which is kind of how I look at it. It's like, oh, now there's only 2 boxes, so it has to be a 50-50 chance. But technically, by switching, you're actually claiming 2 boxes. It makes no sense. I'm so confused.
It really depends on how deep you go into it. Like,
I think mathematically you get 2/3 chance, but I think really it's still 50-50 in terms of what you know.
Practically speaking, your decision is still the same. It's either you switch or you don't, and then your odds become 50-50.
And I also want to point out, before the game was done, I picked my box too, because I wanted to see what would happen if I was in the scenario.
Did you also choose the left?
I would have chose the left, and I would have been like, that's my box. Like no joke. I followed it just like Deshaun had, and I would have lived. Really?
Because Captain America, one of his favorite one-liners is "on your left," and so I'm like, left.
Yeah. Oh, I knew it's not middle.
Stupid, nerdy reasoning behind it.
Yeah, I knew that they probably wouldn't put it in the middle because that's the obvious choice, and so it would be kind of like a real, just like, oh, here's the middle one. And I don't know, the right one just seemed kind of off for me. It just like I don't know, like there really was this weird like draw that I got to the left one, and I wonder if Deshaun had that same kind of weird draw, because he was very much like, no, I want that one. That's what my gut's telling me. So, yeah, I don't know.
Yeah. Either way, it's like, it is something that it's tricky, because like, I'm just glad that he at least knows that he chose the right one and stuck with it.
Yeah. Because
like, if you're ever given that option to switch and it's an automatic elimination, I would feel freaking devastated. I don't think I would live that down.
Same. I would rather go out knowing I went with my original gut instinct than switching. Even though the theory is yours always supposed to switch, I do have that kind of like, at least for I feel like at an auction I might switch at an auction, like
at an auction there's no like true repercussions.
Exactly. Like I might get something bad, but like I'm fine with that. But life in the game, like I'm gonna stick with my first choice.
Yeah. Let me check my little notes, see if there's.
But for Xander bringing this up, he is now truly in the archetype of the nerd. He's joining the Cochrans, the Christian Hubickis, Spencer Bledsoes.
Dude program stuff. So he's there. He's just a hot nerd. Like he's one of the, not just like, obvious wears glasses and stuff, but like, you wouldn't know he's a nerd unless you got to know him,
Mm-hmm.
I think we pretty much covered. Oh, there is one thing that Xander, the Brainiac, brought up. It's the whole idea of the meat shield strategy. And I think it's something to like talk about, because we've talked about it a bit on this channel. it's like, when do you get rid of the meat shield? Because like, and I feel like Xander was, thinking about that, whereas like, yeah, if Ricard gets eliminated, people are going to look at me, but at the same thing, you can't let Ricard get too far in the game.
Yeah.
Because it's like, how long do you keep a meat shield around?
I guess also going off of this, I've been an advocate that if you have someone in the game that doesn't like you, it actually behooves you to keep them around longer in the game, because you don't want them going to jury and to Ponderosa and talking to everyone and have them just shit talking you for a really long amount of time. You actually want to take them out a little later. So I actually think it would have been better to take out a Ricard here. He has an idol. He survives one more tribal. He can play at Final 5. He's in Final 4. So yeah. I definitely think that he should have taken out Ricard. I think, like, if I was in a scenario in this exact situation, I would have taken out Ricard in the situation, just because I think that's a very important thing that I think a lot of survivors don't think about.
It is a valid thing. I think really depends on like who the person is. Let's say it's someone like Abby Maria, who's known for like talking, complaining. How much is she really going to sway the jury? But it's like, no, I mean, that's good. It would be interesting if we both ended up on the same season and like be like, if they ever do like a blood versus water, they'll be like, oh, podcasters.
Battle of the podcasters. CBS, make it happen.
Yeah, exactly. You got two people that would love to be on it.
We'd go out in heartbeats.
I don't think I would.
Really?
Well,
you're afraid that I'd backstab you?
No, I don't think I would be out that early. I think I would be too good of an asset.
No, I was saying that we'd be out on the island in a heartbeat, not we'd be voted out.
Oh, gotcha.
Yeah.
Totally.
Now I might be out in a hurry if if I don't find myself with the right alliance.
Well, I mean, that's true about anyone, I feel.
Yeah. Well, I think I have to be in the majority alliance, otherwise I'm probably one of the first people targeted.
I don't know. I think that would be another interesting video for us to do. It's like we do assess each other and like kind of be like, how would this person play? We're not going to talk about it now, but like for another video.
I still want us to do the Big Brother interactive one where each of us does a run in a interactive template and see how well we do.
I did one once. I got like 5th, but
I've been playing it recently and I've gotten pretty good at it.
Nice. So that'll be interesting going forth. It'd be like if someone that really knew the game went in and someone that so knows the game going in.
Yeah.
But all that aside, I believe that is.
Yeah, I think that's everything. Yeah, this was a big one. We only got 2 more weeks of Survivor. At least we got 2 more weeks. I'm glad that we're not just getting 12, we're getting 13. And the finale is going to be 3 hours long.
Oh my gosh. That's going to be interesting when we record it, because there's going to be a lot to cover.
Oh, yeah. We might have a jam-packed podcast.
A jam-packed one. We might have to split it in 2. And then that's not even talking about our thoughts and feelings about the season in its entirety.
That's going to get its own video, definitely.
Oh yeah. Well, until then, we have at least 1 more hour-long video, or like they usually run about 50. So you have time to get all the snacks you need for our finale video. Just stock up now.
Start hoarding. Go to your grocery store, get whatever snacks you like while you watch our podcast, and then think in a few weeks we'll be going back and doing some more brand steals. Isn't that kind of wild?
I know. I think I did, since we've stopped doing since we paused the brand steals on our channels. I've only done 1, and that was because, well, I've been hella busy, but also like I was just kind of curious because to to those who don't know, I sometimes pop up on Totally Studios. It's a YouTube channel that kind of does like it's for kids. They can be fun to do and stuff, and they have some good ones. I'm not saying that because I'm in it. Anywho, I was like, I'm going to take some of the castmates of that and put them in. I think I forget where I was. I was either the GOAT and made second place, or I was fifth. I don't know why, don't remember it fully. It's on my phone somewhere of a picture, but yeah, that was the only one I've really done since the Brant Steels.
I forgot what I did, but I remember afterwards, I just felt like, what was the point of this? Because I feel like now our Brant Steelers have like story to it too, so much that now any other Brant Steel actually feels so unimportant. Yeah, it just seems like I'd rather do one that had meaning.
Exactly. And also, you don't have our lovely commentary.
Exactly. Yeah. I'm going through. I finished the Brant Steelers on my end in like 15 minutes. I just go through. I'm like, okay, I know what's happening.
Yeah. Alrighty, guys. Well, you all happy holidays. This is gonna be released around still during Hanukkah. So happy Hanukkah to those who are celebrating.
Happy Hanukkah.
Yeah. And happy holidays. And yeah, we'll see you in the next week episode.
Yes. Have a good one, guys, and adios.